Ladies and gentlemen, AI has been better than humans at chess for over 25 years. I'm recording this video in September of 2023, and in 1997, Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov, and that was the falling of the first or final domino, depending on how you want to look at it. On this channel, I cover a lot of AI chess. Most of it is bots playing against each other at the 3600 ELO level. Nowadays, a bot can give a human tremendous odds and still win. And Stockfish right now is the best computer in the world. There are computers close to Stockfish in strength like Leela, which we will cover in this video, the new chess.com bot, which is called Torch, and others, but Stockfish reigns supreme. And in this video, I'm going to show you something absolutely incredible that Stockfish did in a game that it played just a couple of days ago. But it's not exactly what you would think. Stockfish made history, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's go. That's the intro. All right. Hopefully that was a good one. Nice and succinct. 58 seconds. I'm wearing my. I got the white frames back on my face. By the way, I had the tortoise shell. I like this color more. Stockfish is playing against Leela, and whenever bots play against each other to sharpen their swords, they frequently will play certain openings because if it was up to the bots, as I always say, bots just want to not lose. They don't really want to win necessarily. They want to kind of keep the position relatively straightforward. But c5, the most combative approach. This is the Sicilian defense. White plays knight f3, and black plays knight c6. Now, up to this point, the computers are not playing on free will. We have not trusted them yet, otherwise we'll end up in a Will Smith movie. And here, rather than playing the open Sicilian, pawn to d4, for reasons that I suspect will lead to what's called the Sveshnikov Sicilian, and the Sveshnikov is very possible to force a draw and kind of kill the game off. Instead of that, Stockfish plays bishop b5. This is nowadays one of the most popular continuations against knight c6 in the Sicilian defense, and this is called the Rossolimo. R-O-S-S-O-L-I-M-O, okay? Sounds like a type of pasta. That was wildly stereotypical of me. And the idea is to take the knight and to damage black's pawns. Frequently in this position, black plays g6, then black takes one of the two ways. They're both fine. Puts the bishop on g7, puts the knight on h6, plays f5, e5. Very complicated approach. But Leela plays a very provocative move, which doesn't get played a lot at grandmaster level, and that is knight f6. And the reason that that move is not played a lot is because it's not as good as the other moves. Black actually prefers to put the knight on h6 because the bishop will have the diagonal open, and with the knight on h6 and not blocking the f-pawn in many positions, the knight and the pawn will support the f-pawn advancing, which would then instigate against white's center. Anyway, very, very sophisticated Sicilian stuff here, okay? It's like you're watching a cooking tutorial and you can't make, you can't make toast, you can't make a strawberry banana smoothie. It's 2 ingredients. All right, really, I mean, you need milk, maybe? Oat milk, almond milk, if you're lactose intolerant. Knight f6. Not the best move, but a move played all the same. Bishop c6, dc6, and pawn to d3. Couple of things about this position, right? We got to talk about AI games, but I'm obviously going to teach you a few things. The reason why white took here, you don't really want to give up the bishop for the knight in chess 7 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. But here you have a valid argument. Your argument is you've doubled the pawns. Fine. And now you're going to replace your light squares. That's what you're doing. You don't have a light squared bishop anymore, so you're going to build up a light squared force so that this bishop is kind of useless. Also, white is not playing the move e5 because even though that might appeal to your brain, not every move in chess needs to attack something. If every move in chess you make just creates threats, you're going to create weaknesses in your position. And after knight f4, you're already in severe trouble. And after something like castles, queen d3, you can't move any pieces. It's kind of like throwing heavy punches in boxing without form. You're just going to gas yourself out, you're going to miss, and then they're going to hit you right back. So pawn to d3, Leela brings out its bishop and trades it off because Leela says, you know what, if you don't have a light squared bishop, I don't have a light squared bishop, and now Leela blocks the center with pawn to e5. So white is slightly better here. White is slightly better because now black does not even enjoy the advantage of the 2 bishops, which was granted to them on the 3rd and 4th move of the game. It's a closed position, and black has doubled pawns. So black has no d-pawn. The way white will play a closed position, the way you can play any closed position, is by picking up my Middle Games Masterclass, link in the description. the advertising the courses thing and the book thing, it's kind of like a running inside joke. So I just sort of, but seriously, the way you analyze close positions, the way you decide what to do in close positions, where do you put your pieces? Where do you put your pawns? Where are the pawn breaks, right? Where are the pawn trades in the future that could benefit you? How do you maneuver your pieces? How do you get your knight to a certain square? Where do you want to put your bishop? Right? So Stockfish plays knight to d2 with the very obvious intention of playing knight c4, and then it plays a4. a4 is a very interesting idea. It's trying to play a5. It's trying to restrict things from coming there, and then maybe you'll play knight c4 and restrict space here. Black plays bishop d6, ready to meet the move knight to c4 with probably bishop c7, or maybe rerouting this knight to put that knight on d4. You see, the knight needs to go to d4, so it goes there, 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 there. Okay? Queen g3. Stockfish takes advantage of the weakened g7 pawn. Black plays queen f6. The reason why black doesn't castle, I suppose, is after knight c4 and bishop h6, and various attacking possibilities exist with white. I mean, I don't know. Queen f6. Knight c4, bishop c7. You may be asking yourself if you should click off this video because it's been 5 minutes and I haven't shown you why Stockfish did anything important. What good TV show is 5 minutes long? You know? Have a little patience. We're getting there. You think two 3600 elo bots lose the game in 10 moves? Come on. All right, now here, rather than castling, Stockfish decides, look, I got a nice little bit of pressure going. I got a nice little space advantage on that side of the board. And I don't need to play moves like bishop g5 to appease the Gotham subscriber to just create one-move threats that don't accomplish anything. I'm going to play pawn to h4. Pawn to h4 has a couple of ideas. Number one, you'd like to play h5 and h6. That's just, that really is the idea. Like, you want to go h5, and bishop g5 now becomes possible because h5 is possible. And then you'd also play h6, and you would restrict the enemy pieces. Black offers a queen trade. Stockfish says no. And now Stockfish marches the pawn up to h5. This is the way computers play. They take space on all three sides of the board. You have good space in the center, good control of the center. You're advancing over here, and you're advancing over here, while also laser beaming from a distance. And throughout this game so far, first 14 moves, black has just been kind of on the defensive. Black is sort of letting Stockfish advance into the territory and find a way forward. Now Stockfish offers a queen trade. This is interesting. So Stockfish offers an exchange of queens, in both of which ways hurt black. If black does this, this doubles white's pawns, but it severely restricts black's position. So black now cannot move the knight to the desired maneuver, and the e-file is open. So in the future, white will be able to target on the e-file and play h6 to soften that up and continue to restrict black. So look at black's pieces. They actually cannot move. However, if black does nothing and goes here, the damaging of the structure here is also bad because that pawn becomes a target like that, or in the future from that square. And white can play g4 and that pawn's not going anywhere. So for that reason, I'm out. Shark Tank reference. Queen e7, bishop to e3. Black says no trade, white casually advancing, and black playing knight to e6. Okay? The black knight, I've been terrible with my arrows today. I hope you can forgive me. The knight is going to d4. Right, that has been black's idea the entire time. Now white plays pawn to g3. Preparation, right? Just stopping anything from going to f4. Black castles, and now Stockfish plays a gangster move. All right? This is why computers ruin chess. They are 3600 elo, and you would think that by being 750 points higher than the next closest human, they would follow chess principles, like castling, because you haven't yet. In this position, Stockfish plays king to e2, because it can. Because what are you gonna do about it is really the question, right? Like, what like, can you prove that this move is bad? King e2 is just basically saying, I'm solid in the center. I am safe behind all of this, and you're not gonna get to me. If you ever play knight d4, I'm just gonna take. Speaking of which, knight d4 and Stockfish takes. And now black has nothing. This is like yin and yang here in the center. The king is rock solid. The only thing you gotta worry about is queen b4, but your attack is always there if you'd like it, and this bishop is completely dead. Here's the problem. How will Stockfish win? Okay, its position is slightly better, knight is better than the bishop, black is very passive, but how are you gonna win? This is where the magic of computer chess happens, right? These computers find these ridiculous long-term ways to apply pressure. You know, as a human here, you just play F4. Like, you just play F4, you hope your opponent does this, opening up your G file because they, you know, hate themselves. And then a couple of moves later, you go here, and then here, and then here. And, like, you know, slowly you build up a winning advantage, as you can see, and then black, you know, blunders and you win. But computer won't do that. So white plays rook A4. Very simple idea. Stop queen B4, and in the future, put a rook in the B file. Because again, Stockfish plays the game on all three sides of the board. Rook F7. The knight comes back. The rook goes to the A file. Now you'll notice that's a free pawn, but Leela doesn't take it. I think probably because it didn't like that its queen could get trapped here. It probably saw something and it got a little bit disturbed. I don't exactly know what that something is. You know, maybe it thought in the long run that losing the, I don't know. But clearly it did not like something. Both computers agreed the pawn on C2 is absolutely not capturable, which is why rook E8 is played. Rook A3 comes back. Queen takes C2 is still possible, by the way. But both engines are somehow silently agreeing that taking this pawn is worse for black. Because I guess the queen is getting trapped. I don't know. And maybe the queen beats me, okay? In any case, Leela goes back. And now Stockfish plays the very natural rook to B3, putting pressure on the pawn, right? So Stockfish is doing absolutely everything correctly. Black plays bishop D6. Now, my friends, I'm not going to spoil the video for you, but an absolutely massive thing has just happened, and I am not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You are going to have to figure it out. You like to watch my videos, whether it's passively or actively, because maybe you watch me with a meal, maybe you're eating some food right now, maybe you watch me on a work break, whatever it might be. You watch me with your kid watches me with you. But you need to actively watch this video. I'm not going to spoil it. Something absolutely massive has just happened in this position. But you're looking at the position's equal. Anyway, white continues expanding into the position. Queen to G4. It's going to obviously be a little bit of a maneuvering game here because it's a very close position, B6. But that's a little bit of a weird move because you open up the A file. Clearly Leela is convinced it's got a nice defensive setup here. White plays knight H4. Of course, knight F5. Look at that. Knight H6 is a big threat. Black has to slide the king off the file. White is still firing away. I mean, white is just a moment away. White's going to find a way to get the rooks over. Knight H4, that's threatening to win the game if you don't understand why. Knight G6 is a fork. If you take, that's mate on the next move. So knight H4, the queen has to slide out of the way. And I mean, pawn to C3, there it is. Now we're breaking out of the position. Now we're bringing the knight back to try to take the pawn, and then we're going to weaken that. This is a really nice game by Stockfish. I mean, it really is playing on all the sides of the board. It's poking that way. Black is response, poking the other way, right? Queen to F7, knight to D2, the queen slides back out, and now Leela plays pawn to B5, all right? Because Leela's a little bit disturbed by the fact that the knight could arrive there and put pressure on the pawn. Now pawn to C4, rook to B8. Take. Okay, we've opened things up a lot. The C file is up for grabs. The A file. Maybe pawn to F4 is going to come in the future. Pawn to B4. Knight C4. Okay. Maybe Stockfish is not going to win. Because this is looking really, really solid by black. Now, for those of you that may have been watching actively, you might be wondering how this rook is going to get out. It's a little bit stuck. And, white's still doing fine. Pressure here and on the bishop, and the bishop's kind of, undefended and's got nowhere really to run, and good idea here and here. Rook, but now Leela basically just tries to trade pieces. Do the math. Where's the rook going to go? If you trade the rook and the queen, where is white's rook going to go? King H8, King F1, and Stockfish walks its king over. Queen E8, Queen B5 hitting the rook. Now the rook's got to go. The rook skedaddles. The bishop goes back to F8. Now Stockfish is in this very weird situation. Stockfish is playing a 4-on-4 game with no rook. The bishop guards the king and the pawn, which prevents the rook from escaping. This is actually kind of nuts. But now the question is, how will Leela win? Will Leela win? Is Stockfish still going to find a way out of this position? It seems deathly symmetrical. Look at the eval. It takes Stockfish a little while, but suddenly it starts realizing it's hopeless. The position is hopeless. Leela plays pawn to f5, which is a pawn that can be taken two different ways. If you take like this, I play e4. If you take like this, I take the knight. So you can't do that. If you take with the queen, which looks reasonable, nobody can guard the rook. The queen is stuck right now, ready to go back at a moment's notice to protect that little rook that's stuck on b3. So in this time, black can fire away attacking moves and walk into white's position. Stockfish now tries to seal it shut. To prevent any further leakage into the position. Leela plays f3. You know why it plays f3? Because the pawn is like a forbidden fruit. If you don't take it, this pawn becomes a weakness, and I'm going to get my rook to f4 from where I will put permanent pressure on the pawn. If you take, the f-file is open and you are up a pawn, but I am going to infiltrate on the f-file. Now rook to e6. Rook to e6 is a multi-purpose move. I am going both sides. King h7, just steadily improving the position. Bishop to e7. No queen trade, because the queen is the only piece in the black position that can get to that rook. Unless you get to an endgame and the king goes there. But, you know, we're not ChatGPT. Knight c4. Rook to a7. Kicking the queen off the file. Rook a8. Rook f8. f3. Seems like Stockfish has created a fortress, and if you look at the evaluation, Stockfish still doesn't fully understand that it's in dire danger. Queen a4 putting pressure. Queen c2, bishop g5. Now Stockfish finds a moment. Rook c3. That's not a sacrifice of a rook. If you take, you lose your queen. If you go here, Stockfish gets out. Now it's going to win. Now Stockfish is calling the shots because it no longer has this rook problem. But queen b5 back. The rook now has to go back or else it's going to get taken. Rook a6. Rook f7. It's just a matter of time. Leela is just finding its moment. It's shuffling. It's got pressure. Look at this. Rook f4. It's done everything it's wanted to do. Queen d6. And now it's over. Look at these last couple of moves. Stockfish still thinks the position is roughly equal. You know what's the domino that's going to ruin this position forever? Leela perfectly prepares. Leela defends its pawn, which disallows this rook from moving. Leela has an eye on the rook, which forces another piece to play defense. The domino that is going to pry apart the white position completely is a pawn move. That's why pawns are super important. Pawns are worth the least. They are expendable. You can trade them off. It's over. Once that last link falls, it's over. If black had played, for example, g5, this would end in a draw. This would be a defensive fortress. There is no way for white to lose. But that's game over. You either take and allow that pawn to become weak and open the g-file, or you take this, and now, my friends, do you see the final pawn break? I've been telling you how to play close positions, piece maneuvering, and pawn play. Here it comes. You ready? Pawn to h5. Look at the evaluation. Suddenly, Stockfish is realizing it's been playing 4-on-3. That's what it's been doing. It has been playing 4, but it's been playing 4-on-3 because of the rook. Queen h2. And now Leela, absolute king of the jungle, rook g6, and suddenly, Stockfish is coming to the realization that it's game over. A desperate counterattack. Pawn takes f4. The queen slides over, constantly threatening that rook. White plays pawn to g5, trying to keep it shut, but bishop takes g5, reopens the position. And now bishop to e7. And my friends, you're going to get 2 rooks for the queen. Take. But here's the bad news. The bad news is that anywhere the rook moves, like rook g2, for example, that stops queen c2. But you can't stop that move forever. The black queen has infiltrated, and despite all of this happening, that rook still can't move. h4 by black. Sliding the king a little bit, queen c1, and at some point, look at this, queen d1. Look at that. And not only this, Leela has a sense of humor, which you're going to see a little bit later in this game. The rook falls. This is move 93. Slowly, Leela advances all of its pieces. Leela also at this point has forced checkmate in 7. It has forced checkmate in 6 and 7 moves. And instead of doing that, it completely, for no reason, makes 2 queens. Computers are such scumbags. They know that they can deliver mate. There's a mate here with the bishop and the queen. But computers have bad manners. It's like when your opponents don't resign on chess.com, you promote to 7 knights. It makes 2 queens for absolutely no reason. Literally no reason. Just like a sense of humor to the computer. Then it takes the pawn. And then it makes another queen. It makes a you know, it should have made a knight. It should have made a knight and then checkmated with bishop and knight. It makes another queen, and on move 115, it wins. Now, you may be asking yourself, where's the history? This is the first time in 2 years Stockfish lost a game with white. You might not understand why that's special. Computers don't lose with white. Why? Because computers play games against each other in pairs. Meaning, these first 7 moves, Stockfish played with white against Leela, and then they flipped, and Leela played with white against Stockfish. That is how they determine which computers are better than others. Because they make them play opening pairs. Computers don't lose with white. They don't. Some do against Stockfish. Stockfish doesn't lose with white. Except against Leela. Its first loss in 2 years because on the 25th move of the game, it played rook b3. I asked you on move 25, take a look at what just changed. Stockfish put its rook on b3, and that's where it lost the game. Isn't that insane? The game is over right now. Like, just think about that for a second. It's over. I know that Stockfish itself doesn't realize it. Leela realized it was over. Leela realized that after a few more moves and all of this, it realized immediately it was winning. How insane is that? It realized that no matter what white did for the remainder of this game, it would be like trying to play Jenga. It just wouldn't, like... Isn't that unbelievable? That is so crazy. And 2 years ago, Stockfish lost to Leela in the exact same way. Kind of. I'm not going to show you the whole game. Maybe I'll make a separate video about this. I didn't want to spend another 20 minutes. Look at this game. This was 2 years ago. Stockfish played a Benoni, which is an opening, just like that last one, which is slightly better for white. And in the middle game, Leela prepared the move pawn to b5, which Stockfish completely shut down by controlling 4 different times. But Leela did something insane. It gave up its king's bishop for the knight in order to successfully play this, which is like unheard of. Why would you damage your king like that? And you gotta be really careful. And then it pushed the pawn in front of its king. And then it did this. Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you see who's trapped in this position? The bishop is stuck behind these pawns and can't get out this way. And literally, you see how Stockfish thinks it's better? In this position, Leela already said the position is -4. This was 2 years ago. It said -4. Stockfish was like, it's +1. It's +1. I'm cooking this stupid bot. And Leela was just like, I'm gonna win. And what did it do 2 years ago? It traded all the pieces, defended. The bishop can't get out. And slowly Stockfish went, wait a minute, I'm playing without a bishop. Its bishop was completely walled off from the game. And slowly, methodically, Leela walked down Stockfish and won. It forced it to lose the bishop, and it won the game. Stockfish is the best chess engine in the world. It's 3,700 strength, and even it has a random blind spot for getting its pieces trapped. That is so insane. Does that not blow your mind? Like, we're out here hanging queens. These bots are playing moves, and 70 moves later, their pieces are getting trapped and captured. Leela knew this was gonna happen. That blows my mind. Completely blows my mind. I like, it played rook b3 on the 25th move of the game. Leela went here, defended its pawn, and covered the escape. The game was over on this move. It just goes to show you that some of these bots understand chess in the most absurd and peculiar ways. Stockfish loses its first game with white in 2 years. That is insane at the 3600 level. And I wanted to share it with you, and just, this is some otherworldly alien chess that I'm just trying to break down for all of you. Hopefully I'm doing a good job. That's all. I'll see you in the next video. Get out of here.